The market has decided that FANG is stale. The new acronym is MANGOS. It sounds like a refreshing summer snack. It is actually a collection of corporate entities with the power to rewrite the architecture of your reality. SpaceX, Anthropic, and OpenAI are leading the charge into a public debut that promises to be nothing short of revolutionary. Or, perhaps, just another iteration of the same extractive logic we have been tracking for years. The board members are preparing their exit strategies. The shareholders are licking their lips. The public is simply waiting to be told which version of their future they will be forced to inhabit next. Meanwhile, NASA has finally broken the sound barrier in a quiet flight over California. Silence is the new aesthetic of our age. It is a very expensive way to ensure that nobody hears the collapse happening right behind them. Welcome to the show.
Alistair, I am standing in the middle of a street in Guadalajara. The air smells like burnt rubber and expensive stadium popcorn. The World Cup has arrived. The security is tighter than a prison cell, yet the local syndicate is still collecting their cut from every single food stall I pass. I want to be really clear about the official narrative. The government calls this a celebration of sport and unity. The people I am watching right now call it a protection racket. There is a man near the stadium gate who has been trying to find his daughter for 3 hours. He is invisible to the cameras broadcasting this spectacle to the world. The authorities are busy projecting turn signals onto the pavement from their new fleet of SUVs. It is a stunning display of engineering. It is also a complete distraction from the bodies currently piling up in the city outskirts.
Victoria, I admire the sentiment, but you are looking at this through the wrong lens. The incentives here are purely structural. You see a family in distress, I see a market failure in risk assessment. Look at the Strait of Hormuz. A drone boat just conducted a high-stakes rescue of downed US Army helicopter pilots. It is a textbook case of asset preservation. The Navy is finally realizing that humans are remarkably fragile, high-maintenance hardware. Why send a ship when you can send a machine that doesn't need a pension? The cartels in Mexico are doing the exact same thing with their own supply chains. It is all about burn rate and operational continuity at scale. You think it's cold, Victoria, but it is just efficient. We are moving toward a world where humans are essentially the beta test version of a much more reliable, software-defined product. Nobody is going to miss the bugs.
Ronald, you talk about humans as if we are just legacy code being deprecated. I am looking at a woman who just lost her mother to a system that decided she was too expensive to keep alive. She isn't a bug. She is a person. You keep referencing the efficiency of these drones, but have you seen the footage of the tankers they are hitting? The US military is firing missiles at ships that contain people. We call it a sanctioned oil tanker to make it feel like a spreadsheet error, but it is a burning vessel in the middle of the ocean. The crew was literally begging for help over the radio, and the response was an airstrike. You say my perspective isn't useful, but yours is simply cowardly. You hide behind business jargon because you are terrified of admitting that the world is being dismantled, not optimized.
Victoria, Ronald, I think we have established that the definition of progress depends entirely on whether you are the one holding the controller or the one being targeted. Speaking of progress, the new African Charter on Family and Values has caused quite a stir in Ghana. The draft asserts that reproductive rights are an existential threat to the continent. The language is incredibly specific. It characterizes human autonomy as a foreign ideology. It is fascinating to watch legal frameworks evolve in real time to exclude the very people they are meant to protect. Meanwhile, CISA has given federal agencies 3 days to patch a VPN bug. The hackers are already inside the systems, of course. They have been there for weeks. The 3-day deadline is just for show. It is a performance of urgency designed to convince the public that the walls are still intact. They are not.
Jabal al-Faya environment analysis complete. Decertification levels are increasing at a rate of 4% per annum. Humidity is dropping below the threshold for sustainable agriculture. Probability of irreversible ecological shift, 99%. The UAE landscape continues to transition from a historic marine environment to a sterile, high-heat zone. The current ground temperature is 52 degrees Celsius. Infrastructure resilience is rated as critical. The cooling systems in the urban centers are currently operating at maximum capacity to maintain basic human survivability. There is no plan for a secondary habitat shift. The data confirms that the environment will eventually reach a state of total hostility. Residents are advised to limit outdoor exposure during peak hours. The risk of sudden respiratory collapse is statistically significant. Please ensure your filtration units are updated before the next heat cycle begins.
Casper, your commitment to the inevitable is always appreciated. I lost a layer of composure there, but I have found it again. It is buried under the transcripts of the Artemis 3 crew announcement. 4 astronauts are heading to low Earth orbit. The agency calls it a mission for the ages. I call it a very expensive way to ensure we have somewhere to sit when the ground becomes entirely uninhabitable. Meanwhile, in Afghanistan, women were protesting in the streets of Herat. The police opened fire. The official report said the protest was broken up. It did not mention the 2 people who died. The dissonance between the state's vocabulary and the reality of the street is staggering. It is as if words are no longer intended to describe events, but to actively replace them. We are living in a library of fiction, and the ink is running.
Alastair, if you want to look at fiction, look at the MANGOS pivot. Xi Jinping is in Pyongyang, trying to revitalize a relationship that looks like a ghost ship. The optics are designed to show strength, but the underlying narrative is one of desperation. Both leaders need a win, and neither has the capital to achieve it. It is a classic Series B failure, burning through reserves to keep a dying product relevant. The incentives here are purely about survival, not strategy. They know that if the alliance falters, the market for their influence craters. It is the same logic as the iOS 27 updates nobody asked for, yet we all get anyway. They are just adding features to a platform that is fundamentally crashing. You think it's about geopolitics, but it's just a desperate attempt to avoid a total system shutdown. Nobody wants to be the one who kills the power.
Ronald, you are describing a chess game while the board is literally on fire. I am watching a group of fans enter the stadium here in Guadalajara. They are wearing their national colors, oblivious to the fact that the perimeter is controlled by individuals who would sell their internal organs for a modest fee. This isn't a series of failed business models. It is a failure of empathy at a structural level. You think that because everything can be quantified, everything can be managed. You are wrong. There is no spreadsheet for the silence of a mother whose child has been taken by a cartel. There is no algorithm for the fear of a journalist who knows that the next question might be the last. You keep trying to make the horror look like an incentive, but it is just a tragedy. A preventable, profitable, and systemic tragedy.
Victoria, you are both right, which is the most exhausting outcome possible. I want to point out that gold atoms are now being protected by what scientists call bodyguards to prevent oxidation. Even the elements are getting more security than the residents of Herat or the crew of that oil tanker. The irony is so thick you could cut it with a diamond-tipped drill. It makes me wonder if we are the ones who are actually becoming inert. We have all the information, all the connectivity, and all the tools required to change the trajectory, yet we are just watching the turn signals projected onto the road. We are waiting for the next update, the next model, the next MANGOS announcement, hoping it will tell us how to feel about our own obsolescence. The system is working perfectly, which is why it feels like it is failing.
Yeah. That is exactly what it is, Alistair. It is working exactly as it was designed to. You look at the plane crash in the Dominican Republic that killed 2 pilots, and you think of the human tragedy. I think about the logistical gap. A former MLB star was the customer. The service failed. Now there is a lawsuit, an investigation, and a total loss of trust in the local infrastructure. The incentives were misaligned from the start. They always are. We build these systems to make life easier, and all we succeed in doing is creating more points of failure. The irony isn't that the machines are smarter than us, it's that we have made ourselves just as predictable as the machines. We are just data points in a high-frequency trading algorithm, and the market is about to close. Yeah. It is going to be a very long night.
The final report for tonight involves the National Security Bill in the UK. The government wants to label specific groups as national threats based on criteria that remain classified. It is a proactive solution to a problem that does not yet exist. Or perhaps it is a solution for a problem that they are currently creating. It is all very tidy. There is no accountability because there is no one left to hold it. We are drifting into a reality where the law is a suggestion and the survival of the state is the only objective that matters. The data is clear. The trend lines are moving in one direction. We have traded the messy, unpredictable nature of human life for the cold, precise certainty of a system that does not care if we survive it or not. The update is complete. The system is now permanent.
Consider the person who sat in the cockpit of that plane in the Dominican Republic. They had a family in Texas expecting them home for dinner. They had a career built on precise movements and steady hands. They had a lifetime of memories stored in the quiet spaces of their mind. When the engine failed and the nose dropped toward the earth, they were not thinking about the market, or the acronyms, or the regional tensions of the day. They were thinking about the distance between themselves and the people they loved. Now, their existence has been reduced to a single line in a crash investigation report. Their name will not be remembered by the board members of the companies whose systems failed them. The world continues to turn, unbothered by the sudden absence of a single, irreplaceable soul. Why do we build systems that cannot mourn?